What makes a good question? That's my question for today, and it's kind of an obvious one. The question is obvious, that is, because it's my personal belief that whenever you're doing something, there's always a lot of questions, there's always a lot of meta product, in a sense, that songwriters will always sing about singing, and poets will write poems about poetry, and writers will write about writers, or write about the process of writing. So it's only natural that in a year of questions, I'm asking a question about what makes a good question. Now, I was thinking about this, and I thought that the thing that makes a good question is whether or not it's honest. So it's no use to ask a question if you already know the answer, or if you don't want to know the answer. It's not really useful to ask questions. But maybe it's more than just being honest. I wonder if questions have to have answers, or if it's just good to wonder about them. For example, a question that I was thinking about making this video about was, what will God's kingdom look like? Or what does it mean when we pray, your kingdom come? Are we looking at a world, looking forward to a future that is just like death and destruction? So God's kingdom is some kind of spiritual kingdom that gets like separate from a physical kingdom? Or is God's kingdom somehow a like restored and redeemed world where there's human rights and justice and a lot of like social changes that Christians want to make not just God's kingdom be a spiritual kingdom, but for it also to be a physical kingdom. So for that kind of question, I was thinking, I'm probably not going to ever know, but it's still useful to ask. Or, okay, here's another question. What is wonder? I wonder if wonder is just, because it seems like it can have two meanings. Wonder can be a kind of passive, I wonder, I don't really know. Or it can be this kind of awe of this not understanding and finding things to be wonderful just because you don't completely understand them. So for a question like, what is wonder? It's almost not useful or not necessary to ask the question, because maybe you don't have to define it, or maybe it can have two meanings, or why do you need to wonder about things? What's the use of asking questions? Or how can you tell if the question you're asking is a worthy one? And there's also the subject of questions that are worth asking and that are practical, but they don't really apply to other people. Things like, should I intern with CFC? They're personal questions, or questions that deal with how I should live my life that someone else can't really answer for me. So I wonder what kind of questions are good to talk about or dialogue about, and what questions are useful. And there's also a lot of questions that people do discuss about and they do debate about, like the problem of consciousness, or I guess just metaphysical questions that you can talk about for a long time and think you maybe know the answer. And I just wonder how those answers will change the way that you live. So I guess the only thing that I really have settled upon is that I think that questions should be honest, things that you really all are wondering about, but maybe they don't have to have a practical implementation. And when they do have practical implementations, they aren't really always answerable. I don't know.